You know what's fascinating? I was scrolling through my messages last week and I counted 17 I miss you texts from different women. 17. And you know what hit me? Not a single one of those texts meant what I thought it meant 3 years ago. Not one. See, most men live in this fantasy land where every sweet text, every cute emoji, every good morning handsome means she's head over heels in love. But here's the brutal truth that's going to save you years of heartbreak and confusion. Words are the cheapest currency in the dating market. Anyone can say, I love you. Anyone can send heart emojis. Anyone can tell you you're special. But actions are like gold bars in a world full of counterfeit money. I used to be that guy who analyzed every text message like it was the Da Vinci Code. She used 3 heart emojis instead of 2. She must really love me. She said, miss you too, with an exclamation point. We're definitely getting married. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Then I learned something that completely changed how I see women, relationships, and love itself. I discovered that there are specific behaviors, 6 of them to be exact, that women only exhibit when they're genuinely, deeply, soul level in love with a man. Not attracted to, not interested in, not entertained by, in love with. These aren't the obvious signs your body tells you about over beers. These aren't the rom-com moments you see in movies. These are the subtle, almost invisible patterns that separate the women who see you as entertainment from the women who see you as their future. And once you understand these 6 signs, you'll never again waste months wondering where you stand with a woman. You'll never again mistake politeness for passion or convenience for commitment. You'll develop what I call love radar. The ability to instantly distinguish between a woman who's genuinely invested in you and one who's just keeping you around until something better comes along. But here's what I need you to understand before we dive deep. This isn't about manipulation. This isn't about trying to force these behaviors out of someone. This is about recognition. This is about saving yourself from investing your heart, your time, and your energy into someone who isn't investing the same back into you. Because let's be real, your time is finite, your emotional energy is precious, and you deserve to know when someone truly values what you bring to their life. So if you've ever found yourself lying awake at 2 a.m. wondering if she really cares, if you've ever felt confused by mixed signals, if you've ever been burned by someone who said all the right things but never backed them up with consistent action, this is for you. Today I'm going to show you exactly what real love looks like when it's not performing for an audience. I'm going to reveal the 6 unmistakable signs that a woman has moved from interested to invested, from attracted to attached, from maybe to definitely. And trust me, once you see these patterns, you'll wonder how you ever missed them before. Sign 1, she becomes your silent guardian. Let me paint you a picture. It's 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. You didn't sleep well because you've got that big presentation today. You stumble to the kitchen, still half asleep, and there it is, a cup of coffee, perfectly prepared, sitting on the counter with a little note that says, "You've got this." You didn't ask for it. You didn't mention you were nervous. She just knew. This is what I call the silent guardian phenomenon. And it's the first unmistakable sign that a woman has crossed from casual interest into genuine love territory. See, when a woman truly loves you, something profound happens in her psyche. Your well-being doesn't just matter to her. It becomes part of her emotional operating system. She starts anticipating your needs before you even realize you have them. But let me be crystal clear about what this looks like, because there's a huge difference between a woman who cares and a woman who's in love. A woman who cares might bring you soup when you tell her you're sick. A woman who's in love notices you're getting sick before you do and shows up with soup, medicine, and that specific type of tea you mentioned liking once 6 months ago. A woman who cares might remember your important meeting and ask how it went. A woman who's in love texts you, thinking of you, 30 minutes before your meeting starts, then follows up that evening with your favorite takeout and a genuine desire to hear every detail about how it unfolded. A woman who cares might offer to help when you're stressed. A woman who's in love starts solving problems in your life that you haven't even told her about yet. I remember this woman I dated named Sarah. We'd been seeing each other for about 3 months, and I was going through this brutal period at work, pulling 12-hour days, barely eating, completely overwhelmed. I never complained to her about it, never asked for help, but somehow she just handled everything. She started showing up at my place with home-cooked meals. Not fancy stuff, just real food that I could eat quickly between calls. She'd do my laundry while I was working. She'd tidy up my apartment so I could come home to a clean space instead of chaos. She'd even fill up my car with gas so I had one less thing to think about. And here's the kicker. She never made it about her. She never said, "Look what I'm doing for you," or "You owe me," or "I hope you appreciate this." She just quietly made my life easier because seeing me struggle was genuinely difficult for her. That's when I knew this wasn't just attraction or even deep caring, this was love. Because here's what most men don't understand. Women are incredibly selective about where they invest their nurturing energy. They have to be. Society has conditioned them to be caretakers for everyone, their families, their friends, their co-workers. So when a woman chooses to extend that energy to you without being asked, without being obligated, without expecting anything in return, she's making a statement. She's saying, "Your success is my success. Your peace is my peace. Your well-being matters to me on a cellular level." But the opposite is equally revealing. A woman who's not truly invested will be reactive, not proactive. She'll help when asked, but she won't anticipate. She'll care about your problems when you tell her about them, but she won't notice the subtle signs that you're struggling. I've had women who would listen sympathetically when I talked about work stress, then immediately change the subject to their own problems. I've had women who would offer vague support like, "That sucks, babe," but never actually do anything to make the situation better. The difference is night and day once you know what to look for. A woman in love becomes hyper-attuned to your rhythms. She notices when you're tired before you say anything. She can tell when you're frustrated even when you're trying to hide it. She picks up on your moods, your patterns, your needs with an accuracy that sometimes feels almost psychic. And she responds to what she observes with action, not just words. She'll make sure you eat when you're too busy to remember. She'll create peaceful spaces for you when life gets chaotic. She'll handle the small stuff so you can focus on the big stuff. She'll become a source of stability in your world, not another source of stress. This isn't about traditional gender roles or expectations. This is about emotional investment. When someone truly loves you, seeing you thrive becomes a personal mission for them. Your wins feel like their wins. Your struggles feel like their struggles. And they start moving through the world with this quiet determination to make your life better in whatever ways they can. The beautiful thing about this sign is that it's almost impossible to fake long term. You can pretend to care for a few weeks, maybe even a few months. But the kind of consistent, thoughtful, anticipatory care I'm talking about, that only comes from genuine emotional investment. So pay attention to the small acts of service. Notice when she does things for you that you never asked for. Watch how she responds when you're going through difficult times. Does she just offer sympathy, or does she show up with solutions? Because the woman who quietly makes your life easier without expecting credit or reciprocation, that's not just kindness, that's love. Sign 2, she becomes your invisible shield. You want to know the real test of how a woman feels about you? It's not how she treats you to your face, it's how she talks about you when you're not in the room. Most men never get to witness this, which is why they miss one of the most powerful indicators of genuine love. But I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, because this sign reveals everything about where you truly stand in her heart. When a woman loves you, really loves you, she becomes your invisible shield. She protects your reputation, your character, and your name with the same fierce loyalty she'd protect her own family. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like in real life. You're at a party, and her friends start joking about how you're too serious or kind of boring. A woman who's casually interested might laugh along or stay silent. A woman who loves you, she shuts it down immediately. Actually, he's incredibly thoughtful and deep. I love how he thinks about things. End of conversation. Her sister makes a comment about how you're not ambitious enough or she could do better. A woman who's on the fence about you might nod along or change the subject. A woman who's in love, she gets defensive. You don't know him like I do. He's building something incredible and I'm proud to be with him. Her coworkers are gossiping about your relationship, questioning whether you're good enough for her. A woman who's still deciding about you might let them talk. A woman who loves you, she becomes a warrior. I'm not going to sit here and let you disrespect the man I'm with. Either we change the subject or I'm leaving. This behavior is rare, and here's why. Defending someone when they're not around is risky. It can create social friction. It can make you unpopular. It can isolate you from your friend group. But when a woman truly loves you, she's willing to take that risk because your reputation has become connected to her identity. I learned this lesson the hard way with a woman named Jessica. We'd been dating for about 6 months, and I thought things were going great. She was sweet to my face, affectionate in private, and seemed genuinely interested in building something together. Then I found out through a mutual friend how she really talked about me when I wasn't around. Apparently, she'd been telling people that I was okay for now, but she was keeping her options open. She'd laugh when her friends made jokes about my career. She'd agree when they said she was settling by being with me. She'd even participate in conversations about other guys she found attractive. That's when I realized she liked me enough to keep me around, but she didn't love me enough to defend me. Compare that to my current relationship. I've never directly witnessed these conversations, but I know they happen because of how people treat me when I'm around her friends and family. They respect me, they include me, they speak to me like someone they value, not someone they tolerate. And occasionally I get glimpses of what she says about me when I'm not there. Her best friend once mentioned how my girlfriend always talks about how proud she is of you. Her mother told me she never stops bragging about your accomplishments. Her coworker said she lights up whenever someone mentions your name. That's the difference between a woman who's interested and a woman who's invested. An interested woman will keep her options open in conversations about you. An invested woman will shut down any conversation that diminishes you. But here's what this really reveals. When a woman loves you, you become part of her identity. Disrespecting you becomes equivalent to disrespecting her. Your reputation becomes her reputation. Your success becomes her success. She starts seeing attacks on your character as attacks on her judgment. She starts viewing criticism of you as criticism of her choices, and she responds accordingly. This doesn't mean she becomes blind to your flaws or refuses to hear any feedback about you. A woman who truly loves you will actually be more likely to give you honest feedback privately because she wants you to grow and improve. But she'll never let others tear you down publicly. She'll never participate in conversations that diminish your value. She'll never laugh along when people question her choice to be with you. Instead, she becomes your advocate. She highlights your strengths to others. She corrects misconceptions about your character. She makes sure people understand your value even when you're not there to speak for yourself. And here's something beautiful that happens when a woman consistently defends you. Other people start respecting you more too. When someone speaks highly of you repeatedly, it influences how others perceive you. Your reputation improves because she's actively working to improve it. But the reverse is also true. When a woman doesn't defend you, or worse, when she participates in conversations that diminish you, it damages your reputation and your relationship simultaneously. So how can you tell if this is happening? Pay attention to how her friends and family treat you. Are they warm and welcoming, or do they seem skeptical and dismissive? Do they ask you questions like they're genuinely interested in getting to know you, or do they act like they're tolerating your presence? Listen to how she talks about you to others when she thinks you're not paying attention. Does she brag about your accomplishments, or does she downplay them? Does she speak about your future together with excitement, or does she keep things vague? Notice whether she corrects people when they get facts wrong about you, or whether she lets misconceptions slide. Does she stand up for your character when it's questioned, or does she stay silent to avoid confrontation? Because here's the truth. A woman who loves you will risk social discomfort to protect your reputation. She'll sacrifice the approval of others to defend your character. She'll choose loyalty to you over popularity with everyone else. And that kind of unwavering support, that's not just care. That's not just attraction. That's love. Sign 3. Her heart chooses you before her mind does. This might be the most telling sign of all, and it's one that most men completely miss because it happens so subtly. When a woman truly loves you, she becomes emotionally exclusive long before you ever have the talk about being official. Let me explain what I mean by this, because it's a game changer once you understand it. Most people think exclusivity is a decision you make together. You sit down, have a conversation, and agree to only see each other. But with women who are genuinely in love, exclusivity isn't a decision, it's an instinct. Her heart starts choosing you over everyone else before her mind even realizes what's happening. You'll notice she stops responding to texts from other guys who are clearly interested in her, not because you asked her to, but because those conversations suddenly feel wrong to her, like she's cheating on someone she's not even officially with yet. She'll start declining invitations to events where she knows her ex will be, not because you expressed jealousy, but because the thought of being around him while she's falling for you feels disrespectful to what you're building together. She'll become less active on social media, especially with posting photos that might attract attention from other men. Not because you complained about it, but because that kind of validation-seeking behavior no longer feels authentic to who she's becoming with you. She'll stop entertaining conversations with male friends who have obvious ulterior motives. Not because you gave her an ultimatum, but because she's starting to see those relationships through the lens of how they might affect what she has with you. This is profound because it reveals something crucial about her emotional state. You're no longer competing with other options in her mind. You've become the standard by which she measures everyone else. I remember dating a woman named Maria who exhibited this pattern perfectly. We'd been seeing each other for about 2 months, and we hadn't had any official conversations about exclusivity, but I started noticing these subtle changes in her behavior. She mentioned that she'd stopped using dating apps because they felt pointless. She told me she'd had to have an awkward conversation with a male coworker who'd been flirting with her, letting him know she wasn't available. She declined a wedding invitation where she knew several of her ex-boyfriends would be present. And when I asked her about these decisions, her answers were always the same. It just didn't feel right. That phrase, "it just didn't feel right," is the key. When a woman's heart has chosen you, behaviors that might complicate or threaten your connection start feeling wrong to her on an instinctual level. She's not making these choices because she has to. She's making them because she wants to. This is completely different from a woman who's still keeping her options open. That woman will continue responding to other men's advances just to be polite. She'll maintain connections with ex-boyfriends because they're friends now. She'll keep her dating profiles active just in case. She'll accept invitations to events where she knows she'll get attention from other men because she shouldn't have to change her social life. And technically, she's not wrong. If you haven't had the exclusivity conversation, she's not breaking any rules by maintaining these connections and behaviors. But here's what you need to understand. A woman who's truly falling in love doesn't care about technicalities. She starts self-regulating because her emotional loyalty has already shifted to you. This emotional exclusivity shows up in other ways too. She'll start talking about future events as if you'll obviously be there together, even though you haven't made any official commitments. When we go to my cousin's wedding next month, or I was thinking we could take that trip to Colorado this winter. She'll begin making decisions about her life with your preferences in mind. She'll choose apartments in neighborhoods you like. She'll accept job offers that won't interfere with your relationship. She'll plan her schedule around your availability without being asked. She'll start investing in your relationship like it's permanent, even when the status is still technically temporary. She'll meet your friends and family and put genuine effort into building relationships with them. She'll integrate herself into your world and invite you deeply into hers. But perhaps most tellingly, she'll start protecting your relationship like it's already official. She'll shut down conversations with people who question whether you're right for each other. She'll avoid situations that might create unnecessary drama or jealousy. She'll be thoughtful about how her actions might affect your trust in her. This behavior is incredibly rare and valuable because it demonstrates something that can't be taught or faked: genuine emotional investment. You can tell someone to stop talking to their ex. You can ask someone to delete their dating apps. You can request that someone be more exclusive in their behavior, but you can't force someone to want these things. You can't manufacture the internal shift that makes a woman start choosing you over everyone else automatically. When this shift happens naturally, it's one of the strongest indicators that her feelings for you have moved from casual interest to serious love. So pay attention to the choices she makes when she thinks you're not watching. Notice whether she's creating boundaries with other men without being asked. Observe whether she's starting to build a life that includes you in significant ways. Because a woman who's emotionally exclusive before she's officially exclusive, that's a woman whose heart has already decided you're worth keeping. Sign 4, she becomes your perfect complement. Here's something that separates temporary attraction from lasting love. When a woman truly loves you, she doesn't try to change your world, she learns how to enhance it. This is a big one, because so many relationships fail exactly here. One person tries to dominate the other's life, or they remain completely separate, like two parallel lines that never actually connect. But when a woman genuinely loves you, something beautiful happens. She starts studying your world like it's a subject she's genuinely curious about, not to manipulate you or control you, but because understanding what makes you tick has become important to her. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. You're passionate about building your business, which means irregular hours, weekend work sessions, and periods where you're completely absorbed in projects. A woman who's not deeply invested will resent this. She'll complain about not getting enough attention. She'll make you choose between your ambitions and her needs. But a woman who loves you, she starts learning the rhythms of your work. She figures out when you need space to focus and when you need support to decompress. She brings you coffee during late-night work sessions without interrupting your flow. She celebrates your small wins because she understands how they fit into your bigger picture. You're into fitness and spend significant time at the gym or playing sports. A woman who's casually interested might tolerate this or even try to limit it. But a woman who loves you starts understanding why physical fitness matters to your mental health, your confidence, your overall well-being. She might not join you every time, but she respects the time you invest in it. She might even start learning about nutrition or recovery methods because she wants to support your goals. You have close friendships that involve regular guy time, whether that's poker nights, golf outings, or just hanging out watching sports. A woman who's not secure in her feelings for you will see these friendships as competition. But a woman who loves you recognizes that your relationships with good friends actually make you a better partner. She doesn't try to isolate you or create conflict between you and your friends. Here's what makes this so powerful. She's not just tolerating your world, she's actively trying to understand it and find ways to add value to it. I dated a woman named Rachel who exemplified this perfectly. I was deep into learning about real estate investing at the time, spending hours reading books, attending seminars, analyzing deals. Most women I dated previously found this boring or obsessive, but Rachel started asking genuine questions about what I was learning. She'd remember details about properties I was considering. She'd send me articles she found about market trends. She even started suggesting ways she could help with research or analysis. She wasn't trying to become a real estate investor herself. She had her own career and passions. But she recognized that this was important to me, so it became important to her too. And here's the crucial part. She did all this while maintaining her own identity and interests. She kept pursuing her love of photography. She maintained her friendships and hobbies. She continued growing in her own career, but she started weaving her life together with mine in a way that strengthened both of us instead of diminishing either of us. This is what I call complementary integration. Instead of trying to merge completely or remain completely separate, she found ways to enhance my world while inviting me to enhance hers. She'd plan date nights around gallery openings for her photography interest, but choose venues where we could also discuss business ideas. She'd suggest weekend trips that included both hiking, something she loved, and visiting potential investment properties, something I was passionate about. The result was that we both grew. I became more creative and culturally aware through her influence. She became more business-minded and strategic through mine. We maintained our individual identities while creating something together that was bigger than either of us alone. This is completely different from what happens in relationships where love isn't genuine. Sometimes you get the woman who tries to completely take over your world. She wants to change your friends, your hobbies, your career goals, your lifestyle. She sees your existing life as competition rather than something to complement. Other times, you get the woman who remains completely disconnected from your world. She has no interest in understanding what drives you. She sees your passions as distractions from your relationship with her. She creates an us versus everything else dynamic that ultimately breeds resentment. But the woman who truly loves you finds the sweet spot. She maintains her own identity while becoming genuinely curious about yours. She supports your growth while continuing her own. She adds value to your world while inviting you to add value to hers. You'll recognize this woman because conversations with her become more interesting over time, not less. She asks thoughtful questions about your goals and challenges. She remembers details about things that matter to you. She offers insights and perspectives that actually help you think differently about problems you're facing. She becomes someone you genuinely want to consult when making important decisions, not because you have to, but because her perspective has become valuable to you. And perhaps most importantly, she never makes you feel like you have to choose between loving her and loving the life you've built. Instead, she finds ways to make both stronger. This kind of integration takes time and genuine interest. It can't be rushed or faked. It requires a woman who's secure enough in herself to be curious about someone else's world and invested enough in the relationship to put in the effort to understand what makes you who you are. When you find a woman who does this naturally, who enhances your world while maintaining her own, who supports your growth while continuing to grow herself, that's not just compatibility. That's love expressing itself through genuine partnership. Sign 5. She sees your shadows and chooses light. If you want to know whether a woman truly loves you, let her see you at your worst. Let her witness you when the mask comes off, when the charm fades, when you're not the impressive man you present to the world. Because this is where love either reveals itself or disappears entirely. Most women are attracted to your highlights, your confidence, your success, your humor, your strength. These are the qualities that draw people in, that make them want to be around you, that create the initial spark of interest. But love is what remains when those highlights dim. Love is what stays when life strips away your armor and reveals the human being underneath. I'm talking about those moments when you're genuinely struggling, when you failed at something important, when you're dealing with self-doubt, anxiety, or depression, when you've made mistakes that you're not proud of, when you're facing challenges that make you question everything about yourself. These are the moments that separate the women who love the idea of you from the women who love the reality of you. A woman who's only attracted to your surface will start pulling away when things get difficult. She'll become uncomfortable with your emotions. She'll try to fix you quickly so she can get back to the version of you she prefers. She might even use your vulnerabilities against you later during arguments or conflicts. But a woman who truly loves you, she moves toward your darkness, not away from it. Let me tell you about a period in my life when I learned this lesson viscerally. I was going through what I can only describe as an existential crisis. Everything I thought I wanted professionally wasn't working out. I was questioning my abilities, my decisions, my entire direction in life. I was anxious, depressed, and honestly kind of lost. I was dating 2 different women at the time, Sarah and Jennifer. Both had seen me at my best, confident, successful, on top of my game. But now they were about to see me at my worst. Sarah's reaction was immediate and telling. She became uncomfortable whenever I expressed doubt or sadness. She'd try to cheer me up with superficial solutions or change the subject entirely. She started suggesting I just think more positively or focus on the good things. When I needed to cancel dates because I wasn't mentally or emotionally available, she took it personally. Eventually, she started pulling away because you're just not the same person I fell for. Jennifer's response was completely different. When I opened up about my struggles, she listened without trying to fix me. She asked questions that helped me process what I was feeling rather than trying to make the feelings go away. She continued showing up consistently even when I wasn't particularly good company. She never made me feel broken or defective for going through a difficult time. But here's what really revealed her love. She didn't just tolerate my darkness, she helped me find meaning in it. She'd say things like, "I can see how much this struggle is teaching you about yourself," or "I'm watching you develop strength I didn't even know you had." She treated my period of difficulty not as something to endure, but as something that was actually deepening her respect for me. That's when I understood the difference between conditional and unconditional love. Sarah loved the successful, confident version of me. When that version temporarily disappeared, so did her feelings. Jennifer loved me as a complete human being, someone who sometimes struggled, sometimes failed, sometimes felt lost, but who kept working to grow and improve despite those challenges. A woman who truly loves you sees your flaws and failures not as disqualifications, but as proof of your humanity. She recognizes that the same depth that allows you to feel pain deeply also allows you to love deeply, create deeply, live deeply. She doesn't try to rush you through difficult emotions or experiences. She understands that growth often requires discomfort, that strength is built through struggle, that wisdom comes from working through challenges rather than avoiding them. This shows up in specific ways. When you make a mistake, she focuses on helping you learn from it rather than making you feel ashamed of it. When you're dealing with anxiety or depression, she educates herself about what you're going through so she can be genuinely supportive. When you're facing professional or personal setbacks, she reminds you of your capabilities while also accepting that this is a difficult time. She becomes a safe space where you can be completely honest about your internal experience without fear of judgment or rejection. But here's what's really beautiful about this. When a woman loves you through your darkness, it actually accelerates your growth and healing. Knowing that someone sees all of you and chooses to stay creates a foundation of security that allows you to take risks, be vulnerable, and work through challenges more effectively. You stop wasting energy trying to hide your struggles or pretend to be someone you're not. You can focus entirely on actually dealing with whatever you're facing because you're not also managing someone else's discomfort with your humanity. And paradoxically, this makes you more attractive, not less. A man who's secure enough to be vulnerable, who's honest about his challenges while still working to overcome them, who doesn't need to maintain a perfect facade, that's incredibly appealing to a mature woman. This is why some of the strongest relationships are forged during difficult times. When someone chooses to love you through your worst moments, it creates a bond that can't be broken by ordinary challenges. So pay attention to how women respond when you're not at your best. Do they try to change the subject when you express difficult emotions? Do they pull away when you're going through challenging times? Do they make your struggles about how it affects them? Or do they lean in? Do they listen without judgment? Do they continue showing up consistently? Do they treat your struggles as temporary challenges rather than permanent character flaws? Because the woman who sees your shadows and chooses to stay in the light with you, that's not just attraction, that's not just care, that's love in its truest, most powerful form. Sign 6, she becomes your safe harbor. The final and perhaps most profound sign that a woman truly loves you is this. She becomes a place of peace in your life, not a source of chaos. In a world that's constantly demanding more from you, challenging you, testing you, she becomes the one space where you can simply be. This might sound simple, but it's actually incredibly rare and valuable. Most relationships, even good ones, involve some level of performance. You're managing her emotions, navigating her insecurities, dealing with drama, or walking on eggshells around certain topics. But when a woman truly loves you, something shifts. She stops being another person you have to manage and becomes a person who helps you manage everything else. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like. You come home after a brutal day, nothing went right, you're frustrated, exhausted, maybe even angry. Instead of adding to your stress, she becomes a refuge from it. She doesn't need you to pretend everything's fine. She doesn't require you to be on for her benefit. She creates space for you to decompress, to be quiet, to process your day without judgment. You're facing a difficult decision about your career, your family, or your future. Instead of adding pressure or pushing her own agenda, she becomes a sounding board. She asks good questions, offers perspective when you want it, and supports whatever decision you make, even if it's not what she would choose. You're going through a period of stress or uncertainty. Instead of becoming another source of demands on your time and energy, she actively works to reduce the burden on you. She handles things she normally might ask for your help with. She creates calm, peaceful environments when you're together. She becomes a source of strength you can draw from rather than another drain on your resources. This is what I call the safe harbor effect, and it's one of the most healing, restorative experiences you can have in a relationship. I experienced this powerfully with a woman named Elena. I was going through a period where everything in my life felt overwhelming. Work pressure, family drama, financial stress, health issues. It felt like problems were coming from every direction, and I was barely keeping my head above water. Most women I dated previously would have added to this stress in various ways. They'd complain about not getting enough attention. They'd create relationship drama that required my time and energy to resolve. They'd need constant reassurance about where things were going between us. They'd make their own problems feel urgent and demand my help solving them. But Elena did something completely different. She seemed to instinctively understand that I was operating at capacity, and instead of adding to my load, she started lightening it. She'd handle things around my place that I normally would do, grocery shopping, laundry, basic cleaning, without making a big deal about it. She'd suggest low-key activities when we spent time together, cooking dinner at home, watching movies, taking quiet walks, instead of demanding elaborate dates or social events. When I needed to cancel plans because something urgent came up, she'd respond with, "No worries, handle what you need to handle," instead of guilt or resentment. When I was too stressed to be good company, she'd just sit quietly with me without needing me to entertain her or manage her emotions.